Cool. So I'll just remind everyone of the format of this little section that we have going on here. There's going to be intros in the first kind of 5 to 10 minutes. Then the meat of it is going to be technical questions and a little bit of programming. And then after that, there's just there'll be feedback on the candidate from me, and then just kind of Q&A from anyone watching. It looks like everyone has muted themselves, which is great. Actually, I'm not sure David has, but I don't see a little microphone icon next to him, so that's probably fine. All right, so I guess I can go ahead and get started and introduce myself. So my name's Matt. I'm a software engineer in Silicon Valley. I've been in the industry for a few years, and I've interned at a lot of companies, worked at Facebook, Microsoft, Cisco. And right now I'm working on a startup myself. So what I've kind of specialized in since graduating is the open web, just kind of building up my skills with web technologies and building services and things around that. So Jackie, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, so I graduated, a while back with a business degree in undergrad, and then went to get a master's because at that point I didn't want to work and I wanted to learn something that would help me in any profession. So I learned, how to communicate better and some soft skills as with a master's in psychology. And afterwards, I wanted to combine my skills in business as well as psychology. So I worked in advertising as an assistant digital media planner. And that's when I managed the tags that I sent to publishers, such as Yahoo, to publish ads for my clients. And that kind of planted the seeds of how I wanted to be involved with technology. Later on, after I learned more about advertising, I saw how fast technology was growing and wanted to try my hand at a hard technical skill, try my hand at building something. So after my first Hello World at an after-school program, I fell in love. At that point, I left advertising and applied to and got into App Academy, which is a 12-week boot camp in San Francisco, where I learned Rails, JavaScript, React, and kind of came out building my own application, single-page application called Food Truck Starter, and that was based off of Kickstarter. So after that, I got my first job as a front-end web developer at a company that built CMS for higher education institutions. And, that was a great time learning Backbone and helping them fix bugs and updating their entire product to be more accessible. And now, I'm looking for my next opportunity to get better with React and, learning Redux along the way.
All right, cool. So you said you're at App Academy. I think I saw that on your LinkedIn. But fun fact, I actually worked at Clover, which I think at one point was the best hirer. Like they had hired the most App Academy people in any company.
Oh, cool! I have a friend that works there.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard. Okay, so you've heard of them.
Yeah.
I did work at Clover. I don't work there now. All right, so I guess we can get into some programming. I have one programming problem, which I'm hoping will last a while, but I've got a few others too. So I want to send this to everyone. So I've got a little JS fiddle right there.
Okay.
Excuse me. So I think it would be best, I guess, if you pull that up and then also share your screen. So
yeah, let's see
what you're typing. And Mr. C10, B10, I'm not sure if the chat history, if you get that as well, so I'll send the link again. We're all looking at this JS fiddle.
Do you guys see it?
Radu, fă-ți o conversație cu ăștia
Yeah. Thanks for muting yourself. Yeah. So it looks good to me.
Okay.
All right. So as you can see, this is a pretty bare bones React and Redux little program.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little to-do manager, and I pre-populated it just for ease of developing. But so I guess you can spend a few seconds to look around the code, but you'll notice that there's toggle buttons and then there's up and down arrows. So the toggle buttons work right now, but I'd like you to implement the code, kind of using the Redux library to have those up and down arrows work, as you would expect. So up would just, bump it up one entry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, let's see here.
Yeah, so I think you should only concern yourself with the first 150 or so lines of code. But of course, it'll probably take a few seconds to digest it all.
Okay. So we have the reducer, a switch, it takes an add, takes a toggle. Okay. And then if objects assign, I'm guessing this to-do reducer is going to be part of this. Okay. Of the to-dos reducer. So it takes an undefined. So this guy is the collection reducer that's going to pass it to that guy. Okay. Visibility filter reducer. That's going to have a state of show all. And then return action dot filter here. Okay, I'm guessing that's going to be some type of maybe active and completed. Combine reducer is going to put them together. Filter button, filter current. Okay. The filter equals current filter, return it. Okay. I'm not sure what the default state of these guys are yet, what they're actually holding, but I'm going to assume that they have some type of filter that sets the state of how they are shown. Get visible to dos. Okay, so that's a switch. Function add to do. Type. Okay, ID. Okay, so I'm going to think that the ID is what they're used. Okay. Add to do. Extend component when it mounts. This time, okay. Render. Visible to dos. Okay, you get the visible to dos, constant to do elements. So map it out. Store.dispatch. Okay. So here we have what we need. Type up to do. Okay. So somehow we want to dispatch these actions and have the reducer reorder or okay. Return.
Yeah. So those are kind of dummy action dispatchers that obviously are not respected yet.
Okay. So yeah, I guess my current things that I need to do is to figure out how these to-dos are ordered. I think right now it's just based on their ID, which is when they're added, they're granted an ID, and then when they're rendered, they're just rendered in order. So somehow I need to either change the ID number or give them another type of key so that they're ordered in a different way.
Okay, well, why don't you look at how the state is represented in the reducers before you commit to that approach too much.
Okay.
So there are two reducers, or three reducers actually, if you'll notice. So
Visibility reducer.
it's four.
Switch. Show all, set visibility, turn action off for tool. Currently it looks like, you know, each to do is this, you know, is of this object type. It has, you know, it has an ID, text, and completed. If I were to add another, well, if I added a case here, there will be a case here of case move up, and then it would accept an act, would accept and it would change the state by, let's see, if the action it receives has that type of move up, and then it will, and then the data of that action will involve a specific ID. Then if it moves up, how would I change it? I would go through currently each of these, currently, let me see how the IDs added. I'm thinking earlier I saw before that. Where's add? Okay. ID is next to do ID is, oh geez. Next do, I can't do switching. Oh. Oh, okay, there we go. Next, it starts at 0. So then, essentially, each of these guys, they, when you first start it, it gives them an ID that matches their current index in the array. So I'm thinking, if you're going to move up or down, you can change their ID in a way. Is that?
Do you see how the state in the second reducer is really just an array?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't need to manipulate the elements of the array. You just need to change the order of all of the elements.
Yes.
Like imagine this being a real world application. If you reorder elements on like an inventory list, you don't want to swap the IDs. You just want to swap the visual representation of them.
Okay. So if I'm doing it in the, so say for example, if I press move up on this question mark one, it will become 0, and then solve interview question will become 1, and profit will stay at 2. Correct?
Well, the IDs won't change, but the order will. Yeah.
Okay, so then just the, okay, yeah, so then just the ordering will. So this whole row will move up here, and this whole row, or this whole item will move below.
Exactly.
Okay. So in that sense, maybe if I start just typing, it'll make it easier. It will take, so that will take the action will carry the ID of the button that was being pressed, but I mean we can just use that as the index. Case move up to do. So somehow then, you know, in my current array, I want to reorganize it. How would I reorganize it? I know that it has an index in the action, it has that index number. And if I want to move it up, I want to, this would be kind of slow if I have to iterate through and find it and then change the index of it. Yes. IDX.
By the way, this is really picky with syntax errors, so I think you need to remove that space between the equal.
Yeah.
The syntax errors aren't surfaced well; they just get buried in the JavaScript console. It's quite annoying.
Okay, so I know which one that I want to move up, then I can, if it is, okay, if I'm moving something up, I need to find the item before that item. So I'm not only moving something up, I need to move the item before it down. So I need to first identify both of those. And right now, as I'm mapping through, I'm going to reach the one that's above it first. So how would I move it? How would I change its index to come afterwards?
So a map, using map in this way is, certainly one way to do it, but do you think it might be a little more natural if you just clone the array and then modify it yourself?
I mean,
I think map is a little awkward for this problem. It's certainly
I'm thinking if I cloned it and then I can splice out the two, and then put and then reorder them and somehow put them back in. Okay, if I splice them, okay, if I made a duplicate and then I spliced them out, how would I be able to plug them back in at the correct index here? I can, as I'm iterating through, there has to be a better way, but okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm just gonna write it out first. It's probably not the best. State dot. I want to slice it out here, and it's gonna start at. Okay, I'm gonna take action dot. It will probably take the index action dot index for now. Action dot index -1, and then splice takes 2 pieces. Okay. duplicate, it'll remove it. I'll remove it. Or let's see, removed items. And then now I need to, if I have those removed items, it's going to return it back in an array. So okay, I believe I can just use reverse, or even better yet, or yeah, reverse. Reverse. Now I need to plug it back in at that index. So there has to be something to plug back in. I could map through it and just push to it, but I'm pretty sure, actually I don't know if pushes things at the very end, but I'm wondering.
So do you obviously recognize that in Redux you can't really modify a state that's been passed?
Yeah. I mean, I was just typing this code out and somehow, putting it in another location later.
Mm-hmm. But so are you familiar with the immutable JS library on by Facebook, I think?
Not familiar.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's a library that helps you build immutable data structures. But in the README, they kind of have this nice little talking point where if you create a new value and then you mutate it and then you just kind of lock it there, it's outside of the context of that function. It's still like an immutable value. Like you could just not change it outside. So maybe that's not the best way to explain it. But what I'm saying here is you could clone the array, mutate it, and then return it, but not change it later, if that makes sense. Because I think that might still be easier than doing this this splicing and all of that. Because if you're just mutating an array, switching two elements is pretty easy.
I don't know why, but I guess I'm having a hard time like thinking of another way switching those elements without using splice or without using map.
Well, you could just switch them by modifying the array.
Oh, okay. I mean, I could just hold each of those items, and then as I'm going through it, well, okay. Okay. So you're saying that with this, I shouldn't, well, if I made a copy here, and then, let's see, I need to reference the item that I'm looking for. Item to be removed. I mean, item to be moved. And then in the same sense, we're moving that guy down and just switching them. And then, I mean, seems kind of weird to return it. Previous. Okay. Gonna move them around here. I think that should do it. I mean, this can obviously be cleaner. Previous item is the item where the index is, and I'm holding this one where the item to be moved. And then I'm going to move it up and action.index.
Okay. Yeah, so we can run it and see what happens.
Well, I mean, I haven't, you know, made sure that it's sending the index over. I haven't recalled that part yet, so I don't think it'll work, but that's so far for the reduced.
Yeah. Right now it just sends the ID and the type.
Okay, so right now we have up on button, on click is up, so it will send the ID. So I would just need to, instead of using index, just use ID. Yeah, that works.
Right. So I'll tell you, I think there's a problem online. Let me zoom in and see what that is. 34. This object.assign. What kind of value does object.assign return? Like, what's the constructor?
Oh, it's returning an object right now. Is that, well, no. I needed to return an array, but I think previously it was returning an object.
So I'll tell you right now. This is, I guess, kind of a little niche thing. An easy way to clone an array is just to call .slice and then not pass in any arguments, and that will.
Yeah, that would be sorry.
Yeah. So now we at least know what we're working with here. We have an array.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't go up so right now. Right now. On click, it's gonna call up. Okay, right now it's not grabbing the actual, oh, no, actually each of them is grabbing. It's grabbing the ID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the data is being passed correctly.
It is being passed correctly. So here we're gonna make a slice.
Also, you mistyped the case name too, so that code's never running currently. I think it was just up to do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Up to do.
Yeah. So a nice way to avoid that is to have, you know, some kind of static analysis and then define all of these actions.
Yeah, usually like a constants name, right? Just so you don't make the mistake I made. It's so wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Duplicate state. Okay. Yay.
Okay.
Sweet. Okay. Oh, so this can't go back. Oh. I was just seeing. Oh, I guess it stops now, huh? Okay, so that's weird. Maybe now after I've moved them around for some reason. I mean,
Yeah, but this is all immutable. There's no crazy state elsewhere. So something funny is going on here. I know what the issue is, but
well, it's because I mean this guy currently his ID. I guess I mean that's the thing. I think I would need to hold all of this. I mean, ideally, I think this should be done somewhere in the local state rather than in the reducer, because this is only affecting, the display of this component, the list. It doesn't affect this guy here or this guy here.
yeah. I mean, so that's an interesting idea. But I guess for the simplicity of this problem, let's just try to kind of modify the state in the reducer.
Okay.
So the problem is that you're sorting things and looking them up by ID when
Yeah.
the ID is not, obviously, once you move something, then it's not necessarily going to tell you the index.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the IDs are a little misleading.
Yeah. So I guess then here, what is passing there, it shouldn't give it ID in the first place, I think. Perhaps return. This is okay. This is actually part of the to-do app. And where is this? Return. Where is this grabbing each of these guys from? ID is to-do ID. Okay. To app component. Wait. I guess I'm looking for where these guys are, how they're being mapped into this, because then I can perhaps then I can grab their index as they got created into this. But this
Can you just find the index in the reducer? Since you have all the state there, you have the ID, and then you have the array of all the to-dos.
Constant to-do elements equals visible to-dos to-do. Well, I guess this is not down here, right? I guess this is a different format than what I'm used to, because usually you get back, the entire array, the state, the to-dos array from the store, and then you can, filter it down to what you need, and then you map out each of them to LI. But currently I'm not seeing where
like you'd have some kind of complicated selector to render it in the order that you want, basically.
Yeah, I guess I was looking for, you have, when you're rendering things, you need to give each thing a key, and usually that's aligned with the index of the array that's coming from. But right now I'm not seeing that array of where it's coming from. I mean, I guess visible doesn't do, so it's saying each of these to-dos is going to have this guy. But I guess this, yeah, I don't see where this is coming from. Where is it?
So for today, let's not worry about the whole visibility filter. Let's you can like look up the index.
Oh, here, yeah. Oh,
yeah, within the reducer, within the whole state object that you have.
Well, see, visible to-dos, get visible to-dos. Okay, constant to-dos. Where is this getting to-dos from? To-do extend component. Okay, it got it as props, so it's going to grab it. It's going to call get visible to-dos. So here I can grab the index, and instead of I can do ID equals index to do. Okay. Oh no, that's not good. That's not good because we're actually using what is the point of the ID here? It's going to pass back up the to-do ID. Well, I can. How would I give it the index here and then pass it to this guy? Well, it has access to that already. Okay. I think that should do it, because as you're mapping it out, it has an index. When you send it back up and you remap it, it'll have a new index.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try it.
Okay, yeah, let's try it out.
Okay, that shouldn't work. Oh, dang it. When it remaps it should have a new index.
So I'm.
Mm-hmm.
I actually haven't ran into this before, but obviously when you hit up on the with it at index 0, it would have thrown. I think it could have thrown some kind of exception.
Mm-hmm.
I forget exactly how your code was, but if it throws an exception, that might get the whole application into a bad state. So could you just try rerunning it and then not hit the up arrow if it's at the very top? Let's just sanity check, make sure, see if that works.
Okay. The rest of it works.
Yeah. So I think that was the problem. Okay. So you kind of have a general solution for that. Obviously, it shouldn't blow out the entire application if you hit the up arrow.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out that edge case.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's that problem. I think now we can kind of move over, since it's already 11:40. Let's just kind of go over to some of the kind of talking points that I wanted to point out. Okay, so yeah, you're an App Academy graduate, and you I imagine worked a lot with React and Redux there. So are you?
They taught Flux when I was there.
Flux, cool. Okay. And then you taught yourself Redux?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I looked at your little Poke app,
Hmm.
which I'll link to everyone in the discussion here. You guys can take a peek at that. So the kind of I thought the libraries that you use were made a lot of sense. I looked around at most of the code, and it looked pretty decent. I was
Cool.
I thought that looked pretty good. So yeah, I would have I had seen that you were fairly knowledgeable with Redux. You were using middleware and things like that.
Hmm.
So right, so you know of Flux. Have you ever heard of MobX?
No, what is that?
Okay, well, it's just another alternative. Instead of the top-down pattern, you can specify like observers. It's kind of like Ember, where you can have a property depend on other properties, and like it'll dynamically be computed
Oh,
whenever
wow.
its dependencies change. So it's not really important that you know MobX. I guess it's nice that you already know of Flux, but you know. Can you tell me why someone writing an application would use Redux over Flux? Because it's nice to know these tools, but obviously you have to know when to use them.
Um, I think, well, Redux, it seems, everything is clear in a sense that there's just one store, whereas Flux has multiple stores. I mean, you can argue that in Redux, you do have, the store is ultimately broken into different slices, which then in and of itself can correspond to what a store is in Flux. But I think with Redux, you have the middlewares, which is kind of decentralized location of how you can mutate data before it gets to your store. So I think that's very convenient. And I think with Flux, you have to get the event emitter, and it seems like you have to do a lot more setting up, whereas Redux kind of wraps it up in this nice framework for you already.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if there's more setup with Flux. I think Redux actually might be a little more setup. But another really big talking point is about how Redux, it's you
Smart and
basically
dumb components.
could you repeat that?
Smart and dumb components, I guess.
No, that's not relevant to this right now. But
Mhm.
so Redux, obviously, like you're not mutating the state. Yeah, it's these functions are pure.
Mhm.
They're kind of pure functional components. So what do you gain by using something like that as opposed to something that doesn't enforce immutability of state like Flux?
Um, I think there's less. I think because it doesn't allow you to change it, there's less chance of error, and because you're
So it's
not
more predictable. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's more predictable, and it's easier to test because you can see how the state changes in between actions in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, have you ever looked at the source code for Redux?
No, I have not.
Yeah, so you probably should because you'll be able to digest it in like probably less than an hour. It's only a few hundred lines. It's surprisingly small because it's just such a simple concept where you're pretty much just writing reducers. It's just kind of pure functional programming, and it doesn't really bring in too many other concepts. So that aspect that I really like, and that's good that you recognize it's easier to test and it's kind of more predictable. All right. So have you ran into any problems using Redux in your applications?
Um, I I think my main issue was at first understanding, kind of like what we did here. Obviously, this isn't very clean with all the stuff here. I guess it was difficult for me at first to keep my reducers very clean and to kind of have the work done already. And that's kind of why I felt that, the middlewares were the most important part for me, because that is kind of where a lot of the work is being done. And also just in the action creators, you want to have those action creators, format the data correctly. And then when it gets to middleware, it knows what to do with it if need be, based on where it needs to go. So I think that was a challenge for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's also where we just have a couple minutes left, so I don't think I maybe worded my question the best way, but so have you ever heard of like Redux Form?
Yes, it does some validations for you, and it also makes a new slice of the store just for your form data.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you kind of naively implement a component to use data from Redux, and then if you just have multiple instances of that component, all of a sudden they're working with the same data. So yeah, that's I guess kind of one of the problems with a naive use of Redux. So cool. Yeah. So you seem to know Redux pretty well. And then I guess I'll kind of end the discussion section with a general kind of question that most people will probably ask you, or a lot of people might ask you. So what have you worked on that you're the most proud of?
I would say that Poke app, because I think that was my first foray into Redux, and it was literally something that I said I'm gonna find a cool API and then do something with it with Redux and force myself to kind of build something cool, and end up being really fun. I mean, I think some of my friends actually do go and use it here and there just to check out the information, and for me to kind of break up the pieces into smart and dumb components, break up the reducer state to even hold when it's loading so there's no multiple requests, and to also display the Pokeball shaking. I think those were really kind of little wins for me that I really liked, and it just felt so clean organizing that. So I think that would be my favorite thing so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the code base looks pretty clean. And yeah, I think that's a great little project, kind of biting off this little toy application and kind of using all the right tools and all the right patterns for the job. All right. Also, I guess I'll try to shove this in really quick. Have you ever heard of the Redux Dev Tools?
Yes. You put it inside your Create store, and then it'll be part of your, at least I use Chrome, it'll be part of your Chrome Dev Tools kind of on the side. And then it can show you the diffs.
Yeah, so Redux Dev Tools, basically, records all the actions that have been spat out through Redux, and lets you kind of replay and go through in the back, like go back in history and things like that.
Yeah.
So Redux Dev Tools actually implements this kind of event sourcing pattern, which is basically, instead of recording the data as it changes, you kind of record all of the events that change the data.
Yeah. Okay.
So kind of, I guess, like food for thought, or maybe something for you to kind of think about, or maybe bring up in your next interview. I think they'd be really impressed if you bring up the event sourcing pattern, which is exactly what Redux Dev Tools implements. So these kind of tools like Redux and React, they're really nice, but they're not going to last forever. But these kind of patterns are a lot more timeless in the field of computer science. So it's important to recognize those. And event sourcing actually does some really cool stuff. Like if you use it on the server side, and the way that you represent data changes, you can just kind of rerun all the events and rebuild up your database without having to do like complex migrations. That's actually one of the things that I use on my web application that I've developed myself. So if I change the schema, or if I even just use a different database, all I have to do is rerun the history of the application, which is a lot faster than you would think.
Cool. Wow. Okay.
I guess we will wrap up the interview now. So now we can all just kind of, well, I was going to give some feedback to Jackie first, and then we'll open up the discussion to everyone. And maybe, I guess, one at a time, you guys can turn on video and audio if you guys want to jump in that way. But okay, so the notes that I wrote for myself. So you did a pretty good job introducing yourself, kind of talking about your history.
Mhm.
You did a really good job reading the code of the JS Fiddle and kind of not getting into this done state where a lot of candidates get, where they just don't really say anything. They're just kind of overwhelmed. So that was good. But the time between you reading all the code and starting
Yeah.
was a little long. And to be fair, though, I haven't used this interview question myself, so I generally like to use interview questions multiple times because then that kind of gives me a more objective expectation of the candidate, because I know kind of how other people do. But with that being said, I think the time between you kind of fitting all the code in your head and then starting was way too long.
Uh-huh.
For me to be comfortable with. So I think for that reason, I would have not passed you in this interview.
Okay.
But I don't think that's really too bad, because you know your tools, you know when and how to use them, which I think is really good. I think maybe just kind of doing a little bit more kind of bite-sized programming problems will help you get over that kind of initial hump in programming. So what else did I write? Time between Flux Redux more predictable and easier to test. Yeah. So you know how to use Flux and Redux, and cool. So that's all I have to say right now.
So Matt, would you say, like, I mean, if I were, I think like part of it was just, I think looking at JS Fiddle was different for me. Like maybe perhaps like if I were to copy it over to Atom, then, like it's just easier to find things. You can double click on something and it'll show you where the other copies of it were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the interview itself wasn't perfect. We could have been.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's on you, but I'm just saying, like,
right.
if I were to be able to do that, and I mean, I guess I'm trying to understand like how I could have improved if I were able to do that in Atom, and then maybe just started typing earlier. Would that have helped, or is it just simply like just the progress that I made so far is just not as far as you would have hoped?
Yeah, I think the progress also was a little slow. So yeah, once again, I think just kind of biting off these little problems and kind of solving them in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, it depends on the problem, but maybe find something that you think should take I guess 30 minutes and try to sit down and do it in that time.
Yeah.
30 minutes to an hour, I think, is kind of the sweet spot for these interview problems.
Okay.
Although I don't think you'll get very many 1 hour questions. So that's, I guess, on the longer side. But yeah, okay. Did you have any other questions? I think I'll try to open this up to the other viewers to see if they have any questions for me or you.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys can jump in yourself, and then I'll do a little self promotion here if you want. Oops, that's not what I. Sorry. So if you guys are interested in a live session like this, you guys, okay, it's not copying this. I can't copy this text. Anyway, so yeah, you can find a 1 hour session with me on Codementor 2 if you're interested in something like this, and then I can also offer resume feedback. I can give you some homework problems too to work on, and we can talk about that offline.
Okay.
So there is the link. if you guys are interested in a session with me. I'll give everyone a couple more minutes because nobody seems to have any questions. And, Chris said he's at work. So I imagine the other guys are too. Oh, yeah, sorry. I had that in my notes and I read right past it. Yeah, so Jackie, so this is kind of a new system. This kind of one-on-one interview where other people get to watch. How did you find yourself here? Like, how did you decide?
I think Joyce from Codementor just reached out to me and asked. I'm assuming that Codementor sent a message to everyone who's gotten a few mentoring sessions off their website and asked them if they were interested in doing this type of interview, and I said yes. So
okay, yeah. So basically, it was like a cold call.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of in the right place at the right time. But so like Chris, there's plenty of opportunities to get these exact sessions, and they would actually be private without a bunch of other people watching. So there's a link right above your comment to create a session with me. There's plenty of other people on the site as well that you can do kind of these interview sessions with. So yeah, you could find one basically anytime.
All right, is everyone else watching from Codementor as well, and they're just like seeing me be the the experimental mouse here?
Exactly. Yeah. So right now, I don't know if you can tell, but there's only 3 other people watching.
Okay.
There were 4 or 5 others earlier.
Oh, that's good that I didn't know that, because I thought I was like, okay, maybe 1 or 2, but 4 or 5, I'm like, oh, this is the hot seat. And looking stupid in front of everyone.
Yeah. That might have been a little intimidating, so I guess it's good that you didn't know that. Okay, so yeah, I think everyone's questions are answered. We basically got through everything that I wanted.
Cool.
Just another reminder, you can read up on the event sourcing pattern, and I think candidates would be really impressed if you can realistically work that into a conversation, because I tried to find out how old that pattern was, but I strongly suspect it might be as old or older than I am.
Wow.
So it's a pretty simple concept. So
okay, I'll look into that.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, good job and good luck with your future interviews. And Jackie too, if you want another session like this, or if you want some kind of take-home problems or resume feedback, I can definitely help you out with that.
Cool. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Have a good one.
Peace out.